If you want to improve your financial life, this video will act as a guide for you. In it, you will learn how money can work for you, what is the difference between assets and debt, why financial education is more important than your school syllabus, and how rich people become rich through their mindset. If you like the video, please like and share it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Our goal is to provide you with the knowledge that can give a new direction to your life. So, without any further delay, let's start this wonderful journey and find out what Robert Kiyosaki's great book has taught us. So, the story is that Robert Kiyosaki, the author of this book, had two fathers. One of his fathers was highly educated and a PhD holder, but he remained poor all his life and died in poverty. That's why Robert called him the poor dad. On the other hand, his other father wasn't very educated, but was very rich. That's why Robert called him the rich dad. Now, the question is, how can one person have two fathers at the same time? The answer is that his poor father, his real father, had only one dream, that after studying hard, Robert would get a job in a big company and secure his future. But Robert's other father, who was rich, was actually the father of his friend Mike, and he wanted Robert to learn from life's challenges, not just from books. Some lessons in life are learned only through personal experience. School education might get you good grades, but life's education teaches you a lot. Of course, formal education has its own importance, but you can't achieve everything just by relying on it. So let's find out what exactly we need to do and how to do it. The first lesson says, rich people don't work for money. It sounds a bit strange, but this story will help you understand this line. There was a man who had a donkey. Whenever he wanted the donkey to do some hard work, he would dangle a carrot in front of it. Seeing the carrot, the donkey would keep working in the hope that one day it would reach the carrot. For the man, this became a great trick to get work done. But the poor donkey never got that carrot. Why? Because that carrot was just an illusion. Many people are exactly like that donkey. They keep working hard and harder in the hope that one day they will become rich. But money remains just a dream for them. You can never reach it by chasing this dream. So, instead of working for money, make money work for you. When you want to become rich, don't work just to earn money. Because the way we step onto the path to becoming rich, our fear and greed start to dominate us. The fear that we might remain poor, and the greed for all the beautiful things money can buy. This fear and greed trap us in a cycle that never ends. So, we work harder to earn more, and then our expenses also increase proportionally. Rich Dad calls this the rat race. The result is that we work excessively hard to earn money, spend it, and this is a trap. You have to avoid this trap of greed and fear. Because most of us who want to become rich get caught in this trap. So, don't chase money. Instead, force money to chase you. If you have a job, don't go to work thinking that you just have to get a paycheck every month because that paycheck barely covers your bills. This becomes the story every month. Then, fed up, you look for another job and start working even harder, but you are still working for money, and that is why you never become rich. Face the truth. You are responsible for yourself, not others. So, ask yourself the questions you have, because only you have their answers. Are you working just for security in life? A job where there's no fear of being fired? Or are you working just to earn a few bucks, thinking that one day you will become rich this way? Is this enough to satisfy you? If your answer is yes, then I feel sorry for your mindset, because the dream of becoming rich that you've seen will never come true. You will always live in poverty. But if your answer is no, then your first step will be to remove fear from your mind. Because the fear of not earning enough money and greed forces you to work without thinking, and this step pushes us towards failure. Of course, we all have feelings of fear and desire, and that's natural. But don't let them dominate you so much that you start making irrational decisions under their influence. It's better to think thoroughly before we do anything. Always use your head, not just your heart. Every morning, ask yourself, are you doing as much as you should be? Are you utilizing your full potential? Stop thinking like average people who work only for money. Stop thinking, my boss pays less, I should get more, or I can't earn more than this. Remember, you are responsible for your problems, no one else. Don't blame your boss if he isn't increasing your salary. When you take responsibility for your own problems, only then can you find their solution. And this is the first lesson and the first principle that Rich Dad taught Robert. Part of this lesson was also that Rich Dad got him to work in a convenience store. He didn't get any money for this work. He just kept working. The benefit was that he became engaged in the work with his heart, and during this time, many new ideas came to his mind about how to make money work for him. He saw that the store clerk would tear the front page of comic books into two halves. She would keep one half and throw the other away. Then, in the late evening, a distributor would come to the store. He would take the top half of the comic books for credit and give new comic books in return. One day, Robert asked that distributor if he could have the old comic books. The distributor agreed on the condition that he wouldn't sell them. This sparked a new business idea in his mind. He started renting out those old comic books to his friends and other kids to read. He would charge 10 cents rent for each book. Each book was given to read for only 2 hours. So, essentially, he wasn't selling them. He didn't even have to work in the garage from where he rented the comics. He hired Mike's sister to work, to whom he paid $1 every week. In just 1 week, he earned $9.50. And this way, he learned, make money work for you. Don't work for money. With that, we move to the second lesson, which says, why should financial literacy be taught? This means, in 1923, a meeting was held at the Edgewater Beach Hotel in Chicago. Many of the world's leaders and very wealthy businessmen were part of this meeting. Among them were Charles Schwab, the owner of a very large steel company, and Samuel Insull, the president of the largest utility company at that time, along with several other big businessmen. 25 years after this meeting, many of these people died in poverty. Some committed suicide, and many others even lost their mental balance. The real point is that people become so engrossed in earning money that they forget to learn this crucial thing, how to keep it. No matter how much money you earn, preserving it is the real thing. And if you learn this skill, then you can handle any emergency or bad times. Or, if you plan properly, maybe bad times won't even come. For example, people who win millions in the lottery live comfortably for a few years, but then often return to their old circumstances. So, most people ask, how to become rich? Or, what to do to become rich? The answers to these questions often disappoint most people. But the correct answer would be, first, learn to become financially literate. Look, if you want to build the Empire State Building, you first have to dig a deep pit, then lay a strong foundation for it. But if you want to build a small house, a 6-inch concrete slab might suffice. But the sad thing is that most of us want to build the Empire State Building on a 6-inch slab. And if they do that, obviously the building will collapse. Poor Dad just wanted Robert to study hard, but Rich Dad wanted to make him financially literate. Most school systems teach you how to build a house, not a strong foundation. School education and studies have their own importance, but in real life, that's not everything. And with that, we move to the third lesson, which says, understand the difference between liabilities and assets, and always buy assets. Well, this sounds very simple, right? But this is the very rule that will help you become rich. Often, poor and middle-class people mistake liabilities for assets. But the rich know what assets actually are, and they buy those. Rich Dad believed in the KISS principle, which means keep it simple, stupid. He taught the author and his friend Mike this simple thing, which helped them lay a very strong foundation. This simple thing is, understand the difference between liabilities and assets and buy assets. But if it's so simple, then every person would be rich, right? But the case here is the opposite. It's actually so simple that no one even thinks about it. People think they know the difference between liabilities and assets, but they only know about literacy, not financial literacy. You should treat an income statement as a profit and loss statement. Its simple meaning is, income is how much money came to you, and expenses is how much money was spent from you. A balance sheet shows the balance between assets and liabilities. Many educated accountants also don't know how the balance sheet and income statement are connected. And if we want to understand this, assets are things that work to earn money for you. Suppose you buy a house and rent it out. That rent can also pay off the loan you took to buy the house. Now the house is yours, and the rent you get from it is also yours. In contrast, liabilities make money leave your pocket. For example, if you buy a house and live in it, you won't get any rent from it. So now you understand. If you want to become rich, buy assets, and if you want to remain poor, buy liabilities. Rich people have more money because they believe in the KISS principle. On the other hand, poor people don't properly understand this principle. That's why the emphasis is on becoming not just literate, but financially literate. It's not just about the numbers. The difference comes when you write your own story. It has been observed in most families that the one who is hardworking also has more money. But what's the benefit if all that money is spent on liabilities? Let's understand how a middle-class person spends his money, and if this remains their way, they will remain middle-class all their lives, or maybe even fall below that. Because, as you can see, all their money is being spent on liabilities. Sometimes a mortgage, sometimes rent, sometimes a car loan, home loan, credit card bill, fees, electricity bill, and who knows what else. All their earnings are spent on these things. On the other hand, there are poor people who have no liabilities, but they also have no assets. They also earn money, get a salary, but their money is spent on daily expenses. Suppose a poor man earns $1,000. Out of that, $300 is spent on rent for his small house, $200 on travel, $300 on taxes, and $200 on food and clothes. So what is left? Nothing. And sometimes he even has to borrow to manage, which makes him even poorer. In contrast, rich people keep buying assets. Then those assets earn them more money. Their earnings multiply from 2 to 4, 4 to 8. Most rich people use their brains, and they take loans and rent them out. They get rent every month without hard work, with which they pay off their loan. Let's understand it like this. Suppose the loan installment is $1,000 and they collect $1,200 as rent from their house. They will give $1,000 to the bank and $200 goes into their pocket, right? Earning money without hard work. Actually, the gap between rich dad and poor dad is just a difference in mindset. How to spend your money, that's the only key point, nothing else. In the 1960s, if children were asked what they would become when they grew up, everyone had the same answer. They would get good grades and become doctors or engineers. Back then, everyone thought that by getting good grades, they would earn a lot of money. However, many of those children have grown up to become doctors today, but despite that, many of them will still be seen struggling financially, because they always thought that earning more money would solve all their problems. But in today's era, that's not the case. Nowadays, many children want to become famous athletes, or a CEO, or a movie star, or a rock star, because they know that they can't achieve success in their career just by relying on good education and good grades. Nowadays, financial nightmares have become very common. Often, newly married couples think that their salary will now be double because both are earning. Living in a small house, they now dream of a big house. That's why they start saving money. Because of this, their entire focus is on building their career. Their income starts increasing, so obviously, expenses will also increase accordingly. So, the point is, when you make money without being financially literate or spend it without thinking, what happens is that you start spending even more than before. This is a cycle that just keeps going. The new couple has now earned enough money to buy a big house. They will think that they have become a little rich now. But the reality is that with the big house, they have also bought new liabilities. Their cash flow now has the added expense of property tax. Now they need a new car too. They need new furniture. Everything new. Their liabilities keep increasing. And what happens most of the time is that as income increases, expenses also start increasing. Then one day, the truth is suddenly revealed. But by then, we are badly stuck in this rat race. Then such people come to our author Robert and ask, how to become rich? Now, this very question is the root of the trouble because everyone thinks that money is the cure for everything. Believing this is a big mistake. Their problem is not that they aren't earning more money, but how to handle what they have. There's a saying that applies here. When you find yourself in a deep hole, stop digging. Most people are afraid of public speaking. Psychiatrists believe that people are afraid because they fear rejection, the fear of being different from others, what people will think about us, or whether they will laugh at us. Just thinking this, most people run away from public speaking. They prefer to do what everyone else is doing. Such people become satisfied by being part of the crowd. Your house is your biggest asset. Take a loan. Hey, you got a promotion now, your salary has increased, so take a new house now. Aren't these the very things we have been hearing from people? And then we too start walking on the same path. Because what everyone is doing must be right, brother. So many people together can't be making a mistake, right? That's what we think. But no, that's not the case at all. Rich Dad had said that Japanese people knew the power of three things: the sword, precious jewels, and the mirror. The sword is a symbol of the power of the arms, precious jewels symbolize the power of money, and the mirror shows the power hidden within yourself. And that is our greatest strength. When you know yourself, if you can question yourself in front of the mirror, am I right, or should I also become part of the crowd? The answer you get, that is your real strength. So, the poor and middle class let themselves become slaves to money. That's why they can never become rich. 16-year-old Robert and Mike used to go with Rich Dad to every meeting he held with his accountants, managers, investors, and employees. Here, you see a rich dad who is not educated, who left school at the age of 13, but today he can hold meetings and give orders to the educated people working under him, explaining business tips to them. A person who did not become part of the crowd, who took risks, who didn't care what people thought, who wasn't afraid of what people would think about him. The result of these meetings was that the author and his friend both couldn't focus on school studies. Whenever their teacher gave them any work, they had to do it according to the rules. They realized how school education suppresses children's talent instead of letting it flourish. It kills their creativity and molds them into a machine, just a mechanical part of this society. They also disagreed with their teacher's statement that one could become successful and rich only by getting good grades. One day, Robert had an argument with his poor dad. His father believed that his house was his best investment, but he was running in a rat race. His income and expenses were equal. He had not a moment's respite to fulfill them. This was what Robert was trying to explain to him. For his father, that house was not an asset but a liability. Money was being spent on the house. Nothing was being gained in return. His poor dad couldn't understand this. So, this was the difference between the poor dad and the rich dad. Well, their argument continued. He told his poor dad that most people's lives are spent paying off loans. The house they buy, they pay the loan for it for 30 years. Then they take another bigger house and renew their loan. Now, whether the value of the house will increase proportionally or not depends. There are some people who took a huge amount to buy a house, more than the value of the house, and debt mounted on them. The biggest loss people suffer because of this is that they can't invest elsewhere because all their money is tied up in that house. They never get the opportunity to invest, nor do they get to learn anything about it. And in this way, many assets slip from their hands. If instead people just focus on assets, their future could be much better. For example, Robert's wife's parents shifted to a big house. They thought that buying a big and new house for themselves was the right decision because, like others, they also considered a house an asset. They were shocked to learn that the property tax on that house was $1,000 per month. This was a very high price for them. And because they were retired, paying so much money in tax was outside their retirement budget. Of course, we are not saying that you should not buy a new house, but we want to explain that the money with which you buy a big house, if you invest that money in some asset, it would be better. Your asset will earn for you. And after some time, you will have enough money to easily buy your desired house, and that too without any loan. So, the question is, why do the rich keep getting richer, and why can't the middle class move forward? There is also a reason behind this, and the reason is very simple. The rich buy assets that keep doubling their money. All their expenses are covered easily with that money. And what do the middle class do? They just wait for the date of the month when their salary comes, and then the entire salary is spent covering expenses. So, where will the investment come from? And then when the salary increases, the tax on it also increases, and other expenses increase accordingly. And then ultimately, the rat race continues. What it means is that we live in a debt-ridden society. Meaning, considering one's own house as an asset is the very reason that burdens us with debt. This is the thinking of most people today. If the salary has increased, people think that now they can buy a big house because it seems like the right use of their money to them. Instead, if that money is invested in the right place, their life could change forever. But that doesn't happen because all their time goes into backbreaking hard work. Considering their job a comfort zone, they can't think of anything beyond it. And along with that, they have so much burden of debt that they can't take the risk of leaving their job. Just ask yourself, if you quit your job today, how many days will you be able to manage? Because if you are not financially literate, if you have spent your entire life relying only on your salary and instead of assets, you have accumulated liabilities, then surely your life is going to be very challenging. You cannot manage just on the basis of net worth. Net worth tells how much money you really have, even if it's in the form of an old car lying in the garage. Even if that car is of no use, whereas wealth means how much more money you are earning from the money you have. For example, suppose you have an asset that gives you an income of $1,000 every month and your expenses are $2,000 every month. Then I will be able to manage for only half a month. The solution would be to increase the money you get from your assets. When it starts giving you $2,000, you won't become rich overnight, but this way you will start becoming wealthy. Now, even if you suddenly quit your job, your assets will cover all your expenses. You will become wealthy only when your expenses are less than the growth of your assets. And with that, we move to the fourth lesson, which says, mind your own business. The founder of the world's largest food chain, McDonald's, Ray Kroc, was giving a speech at an MBA class. This was in 1974. His speech was brilliant. After the inspiring speech, when the MBA class students requested to spend some time with him, he went with them for a beer. During the conversation, Ray suddenly asked a question. Do you people know what business I am in? Everyone knew that he sold hamburgers. He laughed at this and said that his real business is real estate. Because every location for McDonald's is chosen very carefully. The land where its franchise is, that land is also sold along with it. So, this directly means that the franchisee of McDonald's had to buy that land too. So, in this way, it was also a real estate business. This is the lesson Rich Dad taught Robert. Often people work for everyone except themselves. They work for the government by paying taxes. They work for the company where they are employed. They work for the bank by paying heavy interest. And all this is because our education system is like that. School teaches us to become employees, not employers. What you study, you become that. If you studied science, you become a doctor. If you studied mathematics, you become an engineer. Meaning, whatever you studied, you become that. Now, the trouble is that this doesn't benefit the students in any way because they get confused between the difference of a job and a business. When someone asks what your business is, you shouldn't say, I am a doctor or I am a banker, because that is your profession, not your business. What it means is that whatever you do, make it your business, not your job. Don't spend your entire life working for others and making them rich. Instead, work to make your own life happy. Many people realize very late that their house loan is taking their life, and then they feel that what they were mistaking for an asset was never actually an asset. For example, they bought a car, and all the expenses associated with it became their liabilities. Then their troubles begin. That's why we are emphasizing so much on the asset column, not on your income column. And this is financial literacy in my eyes. I wouldn't say that you should buy a car because, in my view, it is not an asset. Because as soon as you start driving it, it loses 25% of its value. Now, what kind of assets should be bought? Here we give you some examples. A business that doesn't require your presence, which other people run for you. Because if you spend more time there, it will be a job, not a business. Second, invest money in real estate. Third, buy stocks and bonds. So when buying assets, invest money in things you like, because if your heart is in it, you will be able to pay attention to it. If you have an interest in it, you will understand it better. Robert was interested in real estate and stocks, especially investing in small companies. On the advice of his rich dad, he never left his job. He kept doing his job while simultaneously making his asset column bigger and stronger. Don't let a single penny you earn go to waste. Consider your money as your slave, which works for you. If you want to buy luxuries, buy them out of passion, it's no big deal. But don't forget that this is the difference in thinking between the rich and the middle class. Where the middle class will spend on luxuries as soon as money comes, the rich person will buy it last. And after understanding this much, in the next lesson, you will learn about the biggest secret of rich people. So, the fifth lesson says, the rich invent money. After Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, he patented it. His business grew and became difficult to manage, so he went to Western Union and offered to sell his patent and his small company for $100,000. The president of Western Union at that time refused the offer. He thought the price was too high. And after that, a big company, AT&T, was born. Robert has been teaching professionally since 1984. One thing he learned after teaching thousands of people is that all of them had potential. Rather, every person has the potential that can make us great. Despite this, what holds us back is self-doubt. After leaving school, we realize that good grades alone are not enough to move forward in life. For example, it's not only smart people who move ahead, but those who are also bold. It's true that to be a financial genius, one must have knowledge of it, but along with that, courage and boldness are also needed. Most people don't want to take any risks in money matters. But to become rich, you'll have to take risks. Because it's possible that in the coming years, a new Bill Gates is born, or the next Alexander, and the rest might go bankrupt and become poor. Now it's your choice what you want to become among these. If you increase your financial IQ, you can achieve a lot, and if not, the coming years could be even more frightening. Because, as every old thing goes, a new one comes. So, what exists today is the happiest time. In today's era, people are struggling more financially because their thinking is still old. Then they will blame their boss or new technology for their mistake, without accepting their own fault. What was an asset in the past era has become a liability today. So, you need to stay updated. Robert designed a game which he calls Cashflow. It teaches people how money works, what is the path to becoming rich, and how to get out of the rat race. An attempt has been made to explain all these things through this game. One day, a woman came. During the game, she won a boat card, which meant she had won a boat in the game. The woman was very happy. But when she found out that to keep the boat, she would have to pay a large amount in taxes, her happiness disappeared. That boat became a liability for her, not an asset. She realized that this boat would take her life. She didn't understand this idea and demanded a refund. She got her money back and left. But later, she called and said that she was beginning to understand the idea of the game. She was able to relate the game to her life. Her anger was justified because she didn't understand how money works. We often do the same. We get angry at things that are beyond our understanding, and we start blaming them for every problem in life. But if we think with a cool head, this approach would be completely wrong. It would be better to try to understand them. Then you can win the game of life. Many people win a lot of money in the cash flow game, then they don't know what to do with that money, so they start getting confused. The reason is their old thinking, which doesn't let them move forward, and then they later lose all the money. Some people say they lost because they didn't have the right cards. Many people sit waiting for the right opportunities in life like this. Some people do get the right opportunity, but can't take advantage of it because they will say they didn't have the money. Now, there are some who get both money and opportunity, yet they couldn't achieve anything because they actually didn't understand that it was an opportunity. Financial intelligence means how creative you can be with money. If you get an opportunity, what will you do without money? And if you have money but no opportunity, what will you do in that situation? All this depends on your financial intelligence. Most people know only one solution to this: work hard and earn a lot of money. But you have to learn how to create opportunities for yourself, not sit waiting for them. The most important thing about the rich is that they know that money is not the real thing. The real thing is knowing its true meaning. Knowing that what we need, we can create from it. Our brain is our biggest asset. It alone can make us super rich or super poor, depending on how we use it. If you want to walk in step with successful people, then you will have to learn how to generate the desire to grow money within yourself. You will need to invest in your biggest asset, i.e., your brain. You will have to become financially intelligent. So, let's understand this with an example. In the 1990s, the economic conditions in Arizona and Phoenix were bad. People there were being advised to save $100 every month for bad times. The idea of saving money for bad times is correct to some extent. But what is the benefit of that money you keep accumulating? It's better to invest some part of it, which will benefit you in the future. Anyway, let's talk about the people of Arizona and Phoenix who were facing economic hardship. In such a situation, investors saw this as a great opportunity. People were selling their properties at throwaway prices. Many investors bought them up immediately. Robert also bought a house worth $75,000 for just $20,000. After this, he placed an ad in the attorney's office. A $75,000 house for only $60,000. Customers flocked to get it. Robert's phone wouldn't stop ringing. This money was going to come to him from the asset he had taken from the customer in the form of a promissory note, and it took him only 5 hours to earn this money. The $40,000 he invented came from his asset column and were added to his income column without any tax by taking advantage of a suddenly arising opportunity. A few years later, this business of his created so much money that his company's car, gas, insurance, dinner with clients, trips, and other things were all covered. By the time the government imposed tax on those expenses, most of those things had already been spent as pre-tax expenses. A few years later, the house that sold for $60,000 was now worth $125,000. There were still some opportunities left, but they were so few that Robert would have had to invest a valuable asset for them, and also his time. So he moved on. He now had to look for new opportunities. Now, ask yourself a question. Working hard is also very hard work. Pay 50% tax and save the rest. Now that savings will give you 5% interest, and then you will pay tax on that too. It would be better if you invest your money and time in your most powerful asset, i.e., your brain, and become financially intelligent. This world is never the same. What is not today will be tomorrow. The door of recession and boom will keep swinging. With time, technology will keep getting better. If the market is up today, it will be down tomorrow, especially the stock market, which changes every day. But what difference will it make to you if you are financially intelligent? Because you will be prepared for every situation. You will get countless opportunities in life where you can take advantage of your financial intelligence. The need is just to seize those opportunities. Generally, we can see two types of investors. First, those who buy packaged investments, and this is quite easy and hassle-free work. Second, investors create investments for themselves. You can also call these professionals. They make many times more money than they invest. Now, if you want to become this type of investor, then you especially need to understand these 3 skills. First, find an opportunity that others cannot find. Remember, your brain can see what others' eyes cannot even see. Second, raise money. When money is needed, the middle class only goes to the bank. But the second type of investor raises capital by increasing money. They don't always need the bank. And third, organize smart people. Intelligent people are those who work with people smarter than themselves. So, before investing, choose your investment advisor. I know all this is a bit too much for you, but its rewards are very splendid. There is a lot of risk in life, but only by learning to handle them will you be able to become rich. And with that, we move to the 6th lesson. Work to learn, not for money. So, the story is that once a journalist interviewed Robert. Robert had read her articles before and was very impressed with her writing style. When the interview was over, the journalist told Robert that she wanted to become a famous writer like him one day and become famous. So Robert asked her, what is it that is preventing her from becoming famous? In response to this question, the journalist said her job wasn't progressing. On this, Robert suggested that the journalist should join some sales class. The journalist told him that a friend of hers had already made her this offer, but she considers it a small job. She had forgotten that Robert himself had once been to sales school. So, the point of this is that if you have a talent with which you want to earn some money, your talent alone won't be enough. Because until you know how to monetize that talent, your talent is useless. Until you learn the skill of presenting it to people, you can't earn anything. So, there is no shame in learning the art of selling. No salesman should be ashamed of this. Perhaps the biggest difference between Rich Dad and Poor Dad was that Poor Dad was always worried about his job, that the job should always be secure because a safe job was everything for him. Whereas Rich Dad always emphasized only and only on learning something. To become rich, you will have to learn a lot. Looking at it from another angle, schools reward us for mastery in just one specific thing. An example of this: when doctors get a master's degree, after that they do a doctorate in one special field, like pediatrics or something else. Meaning, they have to study a lot on one small subject for mastery in that field, and that is their reward. To know a lot of different things, whatever little you learn, that knowledge will only come when you work for different companies, see different